Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Scream franchise. This is a series of films that began in 1996 and is still ongoing to this day. Heck, a new trailer for Scream 7 actually just dropped, and that will be released next year around the film's 30th anniversary. There are currently 6 films in this franchise, and it's essentially about a group of teens and later adults and eventually middle-aged people who are hunted by crazy horror movie fans who take the films way too seriously. The series is very meta, and it was Wes Craven's answer to the cliche 80s horror slashers and was basically poking fun and also deconstructing, and inadvertently that led to its own franchise of slasher films that are still ongoing to this day. So without further ado, let's get started with my ranking of the Scream franchise. Coming in at number 6 would have to be Scream 3. This is not a terrible film. There's really no bad Scream movie. But this one has like a Hollywood setting, and I just didn't care too much for this one. Kevin Williamson, who wrote the best of the Scream films and most of the Wes Craven ones, did not return for this one, only producing this one. And it kind of shows. It is kind of interesting that the film takes place on the set of Stab 3, Stab being the fictional movie series within the movie, which is based around the events of the killings. And it's neat to see Gail have a stunt double and Dewey being a producer on the movie. It's kind of what they've done after college, and they're still being haunted by this threat. But unfortunately, the Ghostface Killer, and the only film that has one, is a little bit underwhelming. It turns out to be Sidney Prescott's half-brother, but it's just not that interesting of a revelation. It's also revealed that he may have been behind influencing Stu and Billy from the first film, but it just seems like a weird retcon. The kills are also heavily neutered, probably thanks to Columbine, which affected slashers at the time. And it just feels like the weakest entry in the series. Not a lot of gore, feels kind of tame, and kind of been there, done that, despite being in a new setting. Not a bad film, but one that I don't really highly recommend. Up next we have Scream, or Scream 5. This film sees Billy Loomis's daughter, Sam, as well as her sister, Tara, trying to stop a new Ghostface killer after Tara was attacked and barely survived. We have the returning cast from the original films as well as this new cast, and this film was an attempt to pass the torch, so to speak. It does that fairly well, and it also introduces 2 new characters, Chad and Mindy, who are Randy's nephew and niece from the first 2 Scream films. I like the new cast, and they are rather enjoyable, though they're not quite as good as the original cast. The biggest problem with this one, though, it just feels kind of redundant of Scream 4. That film also felt like kind of like a relaunch of the franchise that maybe hinted at passing the torch to some new characters, but this film just kind of does it again. And being the first film that Wes Craven didn't direct, this one is a little bit underwhelming. The killers are pretty good, and they do hide their identity relatively well this time around, but it feels a little bit standard and just doesn't quite have the pizzazz of Scream 1, 2, and 4, although it is an improvement over 3. A decent passing of the torch that unfortunately just didn't do enough new things to get me excited, but still an interesting entry. Up next we have Scream 6. I do rather enjoy this one. I think it's an improvement over Scream 5. This one basically shows Sam and Tara moving to the Big Apple with Chad and Mindy and encountering another Ghostface killer. Much like Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, this film decides to bring the Ghostface killer to the Big Apple. Heck, and I think they even realized that there were some similarities there, because when you watch the film, one of the characters named Jason is actually watching Jason Takes Manhattan, which is a pretty funny nod to that film. The biggest problem that I have with this one, though, is that it doesn't really use the New York setting to the best of its ability. While there's a lot more New York in this than, say, something like Jason Takes Manhattan, there's no really landmark shots. I'd like to see Ghostface chasing these kids on the Brooklyn Bridge or maybe even inside the Statue of Liberty. Instead, we just get some alleys and some establishing shots of the city, and I feel it's a little underutilized. The fact that they're in New York doesn't really add much to the film, but the plot is pretty good this time around, and the characters are likable, although there are some douchey teens, but that's to be expected. The twins are still great this time around, and Jenna Ortega does a great job as Tara, and Sam is once again a great protagonist. But it does lack a little bit in the third act. It is great that Kirby returns also, who is probably my favorite character from Scream 4, and it's great to see her in the franchise again. There's a lot to like about this one, but apart from the underutilization of New York and the hokey final act, it's still a fun entry. Up next, we have Scream 4, the final in the Wes Craven series. This film shows another series of murders begin to happen in Woodsboro, and our original protagonists are reunited, and they have to stop this new Ghostface threat, essentially seeking internet clout and fame. This one did a good job of bringing the series into the 21st century, so to speak, and this was a nice return to form after Scream 3. I really enjoy the characters this time around. Kirby is an amazing new character, and she's basically the Randy of this movie, and I think I even like her more than the Randy character. The killer this time is completely psycho and is one of the better ones of the franchise. Although there are two of them, Jill is definitely the better of the two. The film is super gory and a major improvement in that department over 3. The direction's good, the acting is good, the story's good. This is just a great Scream film, and one that I think is actually kind of underrated. The only problem the film has, and many other people have talked about this as well, is that it has an overly glossy and kind of shiny look to it. I heard they wanted the film to look kind of dreamlike, so you really wouldn't expect the kills to happen and kind of lull you to a false sense of security, and maybe that's what they were going for. But there are certain shots in this film that are just extremely bright and almost like a TV movie at times. It's not really noticeable on the inside shots as much, but when there's outside shots, it looks like the saturation has been cranked up to 11. Just not really a good looking movie, but admittedly still a very entertaining one. And if you can get past some odd cinematography choices, this is a damn good Scream sequel. Coming in at number 2 would have to be Scream 2. This film shows the survivors of the first film going to college. And of course, there's another set of Ghostface killers wreaking havoc. And it's up to our survivors of the first film who have done this before to try to use their wits to try to survive the horror once again. This is just a really solid sequel that has probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Ghostface in it. I think Timothy Olyphant is a great choice for that. And I think they do a damn good job continuing the story. The college setting is fun. There's a lot of fun tropes there as well. The kills are really good. The gore is really interesting. For a film that only came out 1 year after part 1, I'm surprised they did such an amazing job. Usually when they rush a sequel out like that, you get a very inferior product, but this time around, you got an amazing sequel. All the performances are great. The acting is great. The kills are great. There's just nothing not to like about Scream 2. If you enjoyed the first Scream, you gotta see the second one. Definitely one of the best slashers of the 90s. But coming in at number 1 would have to be the original Scream. Released in 1996, this was basically Wes Craven's answer to the slasher genre, which had become a bit stale at that point. The whole film was very meta and self-aware in its deconstruction of 80s slashers. It's a very well-made film that shows some teens trying to survive this ghost-faced killer, and they eventually find out that the killer is actually 2 members of the friend group. The whole film has been a meta look at the slasher genre, and it shows that there are rules that if you follow these cliches, you could potentially survive. And it just leads to a very interesting, fourth wall breaking type of horror film. It was very unique when it came out, and there's really nothing like it even to this day. Some films have tried to replicate its style, and the series has had its ups and downs, and is not quite as unique as it used to be. But this first film still holds up very well, and is definitely the best of the entire franchise. It's probably one of the, if not the best slasher film of the 1990s, and it launched an amazing series of films. The Scream franchise, although it's not my favorite slasher franchise, it is one of the most consistently good entries. You just cannot beat the original Scream. Well, that's my list. I do have my concerns for this series' future and Scream 7 as well. And hopefully Scream 7 will still be good, and I'll definitely review it when it comes out. But I'm still cautiously optimistic. I do think that going forward, this series can maybe pass the torch again. I would hope 7 is something of a nice return to form, maybe with some returning Ghostface killers, like has been hinted at. But it'd be nice if they could get Jenna Ortega back for Scream 8. She's a hot ticket right now, and without her, I think this series' popularity could definitely wane. But I suppose we'll see. I thank you all for watching, and enjoy your Halloween season. I'm sorry I haven't had more videos out this month, but I've been very busy with work. However, I'm glad I got this video out to you guys before the Halloween season was over. Let me know your favorite Scream film down below, and if you're looking forward to Scream 7. And peace out.